What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Hellofresh. I love Hellofresh, and I know that because I ate a bunch of Hellofresh. They sent me Hellofresh, and then I got a bunch more Hellofresh with my own money. Actually, this is a really funny Hellofresh story. This is off script, but I swear to God. You know, my mother is a boomer. She's a little old school, and you know she's an old school because she sends email chains around that have actual videos in the email. You got to see, she doesn't send like a YouTube link like anybody else. They send, they actually put the video clip in the email, and they send old things, right? And here's how I know my mom doesn't listen to our podcast. She sent me this link. She goes, "There's this company, HelloFresh, and they're giving out 12 free meals, and you should try this with Hannah." I was like, "Mom, you don't listen to the podcast, do you?" I've literally been advertising that deal for like months. The next day, she sent me the Red Bull Felix Baumgartner space jump video and went, "Have you seen this?" I went, "Mom, it's 480p. It's 2012. HelloFresh is awesome, though. There's a reason my mom thought it was going to be cool. She was right. I think it's cool. Here's why I think it's cool. These types of services, HelloFresh especially, they save you time because you can get home from work after a long day, and with fresh ingredients waiting there, you can make a meal in 30 minutes. That's like a good meal, and it tastes fresh, and it's delicious. And I know that because I timed myself cooking them, right? And they have so many different recipes to choose from every week, and they're always changing them, so you're always going to eat a variety of different things. It's not like health diet food. It's health. It's good. It's fresh ingredients, and it's nice produce and stuff like that, but it's not like dry, horrible, like diet food. You know what I mean? And then I, as someone who likes cooking, would really take pride in going to the grocery store and getting, and making things from scratch. The problem with that is if you're just cooking for yourself or with two people, it's actually hard to shop that small. You end up with a lot of waste. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't like to use leftovers, waste food stinks. It's frustrating. With HelloFresh, you know how much you're getting, and there's no wasted food. It's not just on a meal level, on an ingredient level. You get the exact number of ingredients that you need to make the dish. So there's no wasted food. I love that. The recipes were very easy to make, really easy to read, nice colorful PDF. You throw it on the iPad or the laptop as you're cooking, and it's really nice. And there was a huge variety of food. I was just a big, big fan of HelloFresh, so much so that I bought a bunch more once the plan ended. So what you could do is get about this right now. You go to HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire12. I'm sorry the code is a little confusing. Smoking Tire 12, because that gets you 12 free meals, including free shipping. HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire12. The number 12, not the letters written out. Smoking Tire 12. Okay? Use this. Try it. It is delightful. You might not ever go back. It is America's #1 meal kit for a reason. We are also brought to you by Keeps. Keeps is for people that are bald or balding, and I speak from very personal experience. I lost my hair super, super early from the top outward, and I learned when I shaved a mohawk in my head, and the center section was pretty sad compared to the front
Oh my God.
and the back. It's a bad way to learn about that you're going bald. You go, "Oh, Jesus, I am now too old to mohawk."
Like, why'd you do a spike in the front and the back?
Yep.
I thought the middle's not there?
Yep. It was party in the front and back and business cash in the middle. You don't have to be that guy. You can get Keeps. 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35, and more than 50 million men in the U.S. suffer from male pattern baldness. There's only 2 FDA-approved medications that can prevent hair loss, and Keeps offers both. Keeps offers a simple, stress-free way to keep your hair. There's convenient virtual doctor consultations, and the medication is delivered straight to your door every 3 months. You never leave the house. It's cheap. Treatments start at just $10 per month, and Keeps offers generic versions of those 2 medications. It comes in discreet packaging and has proven results. Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, And prevention is key. The treatments can see 4 to 6 months to see results, so act fast. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/tire. That's KEEPS.com/tire. And you'll receive your first month of treatment for free at KEEPS.com/tire. Get your first month free. Keeps.com/tire. And of course, if you want to keep your head on straight, Tradecraft Farms is where it's all going for you. My favorite THC and CBD products. Really more the THC than the CBD, but that's okay because Tradecraft Farms is the official cannabis of the Smoking Tire podcast. And every time I say that, it makes me feel better about my life. If I'm feeling down, I just repeat to myself, Tradecraft Farms is the official cannabis. And then I have a little chuckle because there's an official cannabis of something. It's amazing, folks. Just give these guys a follow. So if you're in California and you have the opportunity to purchase legally, by all means, grab a pre-roll, grab a sack. It's fire. But if you're not in California, give them a follow on the gram, Tradecraft_farms, and tell them your boy Matt Farah at the Smoking Tire sent you, because these are my people. They do good. They do good work over there. Alrighty then, on this episode of the Smoking Tire podcast, my old pal Jason Fenske at Engineering Explained is coming in hot from Boise, Idaho. I don't know why. It has been 2 goddamn years or more since Jason Fenske has been on the program, because he is one of the most interesting people out there. He does deep dives into interesting topics on his channel Engineering Explained, and I am jealous of his view counts every day. We have great topics to cover today. We talk about the grid. We talk about Tesla. It's shocker. And yeah, that's it. Jason Fenske, Engineering Explained on the Smoking Tire podcast. They gave me the bag and they go, shove this thing up your nose. And I go, well, what if I don't shove it far enough? And she goes, I'll tell you if you're not. Okay. How yeah, she was in like a hazmat bubble standing like 8 feet away. I was like, I said no symptoms. Anyway, welcome to the Smoking Tire podcast, everybody.
Hey.
Jason Fenske of Engineering Explained is on the line. Looking good.
What's up, Matt and Zach? Thank you both for having me. It's been several years since I've been on this. It was a long time ago. I don't remember when it was.
Long. Way too long.
Yeah.
It's like 2018 or something. It's not good.
Well, I'm happy to be back.
Thank you for continuing the tradition of our guests calling in from their garages. It's a good backdrop.
Yeah.
It's
what do I see back there? LC500?
Little convertible LC500, not bad. And then there's my MX5. You know, way cooler, sounds better.
Listen, I am pro LC500. Are you not pro LC500? I'm pro.
I wasn't when I first drove it, because when I first drove it, it was at Laguna Seca, and that was kind of a dumb place to first try an LC500. And then after I drove it on the road, I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yes.
But when I drove it on the track, I was like, what's the hype? And then I was like, no, that's not what it's for.
The LC500 is a class of vehicle that pretty much no longer exists anymore. The personal luxury coupe. Not quite a supercar, not a star on the racetrack, but like eats up highway miles, looks great, has a real cool engine, and offers like a real expression of the brand. You know?
Yeah, and the interior is amazing. Like everything is the same color. And it's like not this just like boring black interior that every car has.
Did you? The one behind you in this the set here is actually it looks like a is that fully red, or does it have a tuxedo black hood?
It's the like sand colored hood that comes up.
Oh, it looks like it may just be the reflection. It looks black, which would be cool.
Are you talking about just the hood of the car? I was talking about the roof. Sorry.
No, the hood of the car.
No, all body matched. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It looks in this shot. It looks black, and I just derailed the conversation for that.
All good.
It's a nice daily, though. Those things rule.
Yeah.
I want to just dive in with you.
Let's do it
and talk about the electrical grid.
Okay.
Because
Zach warned me of this.
Well, because you actually have knowledge of this, and you have a balanced opinion based on scientific facts and study, and not just based on, reading shit on Twitter, and not based on the anecdotal evidence of my life, which is trying to build one building. That's not really that doesn't make the plural of that is not data. So
sure.
Every manufacturer is getting on board the press release, phase out gas engines by 2030, 2035, whatever it is. My a personal opinion, not based on science, is that if they really expect this 100% or a very high percentage transition to EVs, we are in for a shock with our city's electrical grid and how we plan on getting power to all these cars. What is your opinion?
My opinion is that we're in for a shock if we don't plan for it. And is that possible? Yeah, absolutely. I think we have seen a lack of planning very frequently in many scenarios in this country.
Yeah. I'm thinking about New Orleans hurricanes. I'm thinking about seawalls in Florida, and I'm thinking about curbing global warming and all kinds of with the times we've waited until it's way too fucking late to fix something.
Oh, it's raining outside?
Correct.
What if we invent something to cover ourselves from the rain? Some sort of umbrella.
Yeah, so I don't want to sound like a hyper optimist when I say, oh, yeah, it's no problem. But I genuinely don't think it's a problem. It's just a problem. We know how to address it, right? We know how to do it. And I think the easiest way to explain why I think we're capable of it is right now, the US makes about 4 trillion kilowatt hours of electricity a year. A bunch of energy, right? Who cares what that number is?
4 trillion. It sounds like a ton. It sounds like a lot.
It's a bunch. If every single person were to drive an EV for all of their miles, we would need about 1.25 trillion kilowatt hours.
Okay.
In addition, right? Now, we don't know what we're going to substitute out. Like, there's probably going to be some things that go down, whatever, sure. But let's just say we need 1.25 in addition. So we've got about 30% more power total need if everyone went electric like that, today. So 30% to me doesn't sound crazy because it's not going to be a fast transition. Like, we know this. It's not going to happen overnight.
But here's the question. I believe, optimistically, that if it just comes down to generating 30% more power than we generate now, that seems doable. Where I see the problem is getting that power to stuff.
Yes.
Whether it's new public charging stations, whether it's existing apartment and office buildings, that's real infrastructure work that goes far beyond just, okay, more power plants, and Jason is itching to jump in. Go.
I'm excited. Yes, no, because you bring up a great point, right? Like, you also have to get that electricity to someone. Mm-hmm. And kind of like the same idea with planning, like, there is a way it can work, right? Now, will it work? That's like an optimistic, yes, I think it can. But for example, okay, so the average household uses 900 kilowatt hours per month. Okay. Now, if you were to have an electric car, you're going to use on average, assuming you drive average distance a year, 450 additional kilowatt hours per month. So 50% increase in the energy coming to your home.
That's a lot.
Big.
That's a lot.
Yes.
And go on. And when they build homes, they haven't necessarily planned. If you live in a home built in the 60s, they weren't thinking about computers that are running 24 hours a day and stuff like that. And they definitely weren't thinking about electric cars.
That's why the wiring in old buildings and houses can oftentimes be really unstable, even just for things like computers.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm in a house right now that was built in the 20s, and I can charge my Tesla and do all that. Like, it's not an issue. Like, you can update these things. Mm-hmm. So the problem with that 50%, right, isn't that we can't have 50% more energy go into a home. Because if you look at the overall amount of energy, it's literally like 20 light bulbs, 100-watt light bulbs back in the day of incandescence. It's like 20 incandescent light bulbs always running.
Yeah.
That's how much energy we're putting in a home.
That's not that much when it sounds.
That's not that much, right?
Is that because our shit is that much more efficient now?
A lot of things are super efficient now comparatively, yes. But It's not 20 light bulbs always, right? It's a bunch of light bulbs
are turned off
for a very brief moment of time with an electric car. So that's the challenge. The rate gets very high for a very short period. So the secret of like, how do you spread that out is everyone can't charge at the same time, right? Because if everyone gets home from work at 5:30, plugs their car in, and everyone's running 8 kilowatt chargers, like, nope, it's going to shut down.
You can shut down the entire like city, like, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. But I have a friend who works in the power distribution industry as an engineer. And one of the cool things they're working on, and I know some people will be against this, but it's an opt-in thing, not like you're forced to do this. But it's a solution. You can have the city pay to install your EV charger at your home. And in return, they get to coordinate when you can charge. So that's, if you have a ton of money, that's probably something you're going to avoid.
Right.
But putting in a charger is like $1,500 depending on where it has to go. So it can be expensive.
But they only serve you power when it's the cheapest to them?
Well, no, not necessarily. They use that so that peak, when everyone gets home from work, they can say, okay, not everyone.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
We can wait until 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.
Right.
Yes,
flattening
exactly.
the curve. I get it. Okay. So
yes.
So so they'll pay to install your charger, but you get a little delay of game when you plug in. Your shit doesn't necessarily start juicing right away.
Right. It could be locked out or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are smart ways to do it. And there are ways where it's like, okay, if you know that you need those 12 hours of charging, right? Like you're going to be very angry about that. But that's not everyone's scenario.
No,
some people might not care.
Of course.
So if you don't care and you only need 2 hours.
My personal use case is like not a regular commute. You know what I mean? And then like now that we're talking about a shift to at least a significant portion of telework, right? Even if the people do, quote, go back to the office, like the people I know who work in offices, it's probably going to be more like 2 days a week in the office, 3 days a week at home. So the total miles driven could definitely be reduced over time, and the flexibility with charging could be increased, like accelerated by coronavirus.
Yes. And so it's like, it's something where saying, oh yeah, it's no problem, that's a lie. Saying it's this inevitable, there's no way we can solve this problem, that's a lie. Like there's a somewhere in the middle where it can happen, right?
And I don't think it's an unsolvable problem either. I think that I've always maintained that it is it's a problem that is so large and significant that we need like an interstate highway system, New Deal level of investment at the government level, saying that look, it's a priority of our country to have a better, stable EV power grid that everybody can access, not just people with, chargers at their homes, right? Because people who live in apartment buildings, that's a lot of people. You want those people to have the opportunity, and so I would be concerned about the speed of the bureaucracy and that kind of thing, and people going, just let the private industry do it, and then it becomes just a money grab, or worse, proprietary charging tech. Like, good for Tesla for building superchargers, but like, kind of like, fuck you for making them proprietary. You know what I mean? Like,
So two things that give me like mild hope in humanity. First, so if we look at energy production in the U.S., in 1960, it was less than 1 trillion kilowatt hours. And so today it's 4 times. Today it's over now. 4. Yeah. But we were at 4 times. We were at 5 times what it was in 1960 by the year 2000. So in 40 years, we upped energy production by 5 times.
Okay.
That's a pretty strong growth rate.
Did we fuck the planet up very badly in the process?
Oh,
out of curiosity?
Absolutely.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just wondering.
I mean, that's
And I'm
that's
not.
what we do.
I know that sounded snarky and shitty, but that was a genuine question because I was prepared for him to come back actually and say, no, the power generation is actually cleaner now, and so we actually are not fucking the planet up worse. But I think maybe we are.
Well,
I believe it is cleaner.
It's gotten cleaner over the last few decades, right, Jason? But
Yes,
60s and
yes,
70s
since
and
like
80s was the
2000.
heyday of coal.
It was gnarly.
Yeah.
No. In the process, we definitely fucked the planet up. But to produce 5 times or 4 point whatever times the power now, is that fucking the planet up 4 times worse every year than it was in the 60s? Or
That's a good question. So I'm not positive, but for example, coal has dropped significantly and natural gas has kind of replaced it, right? Mm-hmm. And natural gas has about half the emissions from like a carbon standpoint as coal. So, if you reduce your coal by half and you double your natural gas, then you've made a significant carbon difference.
What? Okay. So
that was part 1 of why I'm optimistic.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want
What's part 2?
Part 2 is that we all have air conditioners.
Sure.
So point being, at some point, we didn't all have air conditioners, right? And air conditioners are major power draws, like 3,000 watts, 4,000 watts, 5,000 watts. I'm sure for your garage, it's insane.
My garage is not air conditioned. Does not.
Okay.
My garage is a concrete
Fantastic.
coffin, so it is extremely well insulated. We've got an unbelievable white roof, and we have a 36,000 cubic feet per minute exhaust fan setup that goes through HEPA
lovely.
filters. But it's one fan. It's only one fan, and so
That's awesome.
the garage itself does not need to be climate controlled. But your point stands. Big air conditioners are a big fucking a Costco is ripping through it. You know what I mean, or whatever.
Yes, and so at some point, us as humans were like, we want air conditioning. And it was like, well, the grid can't handle it. Like, did we all just say, like, well, the grid can't handle it? It's like, no, we did it.
That's a good point. Yeah, we did do it. Okay. How'd we do it?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what
I'm just well
right?
aware. Yeah,
that it was done, and that's a good point.
Now.
It's a very good point. Yes, everyone's got air conditioning now, and that's a big power draw.
And that's
fair.
That's market force. An invention comes along, and people go, "We really like this." And then private companies or public companies go, "Well, everyone wants this. It makes life better." So it's a mix of private companies probably making air conditioners, and the public infrastructure had to grow to accommodate.
From
Same
a
with
power
refrigerators,
generation standpoint, that makes absolute sense. But again, just to back up a little bit. An air conditioner does not require the infrastructure that publicly accessible car chargers do.
How so? I mean, they probably had to run thicker power lines to all the houses, like refrigerators.
Maybe they
and
did,
air
and maybe they
conditioners.
didn't. I don't know.
We just don't pay attention because we were 6 or 0 or something. But they had to run. I would bet a lot of money they had to run larger lines and capacitors and all the other different things versus what they did in the 20s or 30s. Because you added refrigerators, air conditionings, microwaves, and all these other power draws. I don't know. Jason, am I speaking totally out of my ass?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I just know that there was a time where we didn't have AC, and no one, like, I don't know of all these arguments of people saying, grid can't handle AC, let's not do it.
Right.
Like, we just did it.
Sure.
I think we can do almost anything. It's just a matter of will it happen.
But again, the AC, it is a great example of things that use a lot of power and before we had them and not. But also, here's what I didn't. It wasn't. I mean, this prediction of the full-on transition to EVs. I hear it as both an inevitability, which I don't think it necessarily is, and I also hear it mainly from the manufacturers as a position of posturing, not necessarily by market demands, which is, I'm guessing, where the EV air conditioning came from. People went inside a movie theater and went, fuck me, I can get this at home?
Right.
Fucking wrap it up. Let's go, And so I think that there are parallels for sure, but there are also differences in who is driving it forward.
Yes, I agree with you completely that I think there's a lot of posturing and it's done for marketing purposes, not for environmental purposes, right? Because ultimately, what does any public company want to do? They want to make money.
Of course.
The end. So pretending that they're all out there to make the environment better is silly.
Of course.
But acknowledging facts isn't necessarily a terrible thing for a company to do.
No, acknowledging facts is a good thing for a company to do. It's a good thing for a company to do. But I just think that I'm not a cynic in the sense of, that I don't believe the mainstream media or that I believe everyone's lying. I'm not that type of a cynic. I'm just a cynic in that I can see what all of these companies are doing, whether it's marketing autonomous vehicles on this sort of backbone of safety without talking about any of the ways we could improve safety now without inventing a whole new thing, whether it's environmentalism and talking about, this car doesn't burn gas, but not really talking about where the lithium and nickel come from, or that type of thing, the total environmental cost of things. And it's okay, well, our city's air are cleaner, but have we just left a giant hole in Liberia where we were mining, whatever the fuck we were mining? You don't want to outsource our dirtiness to other countries. That's not cool.
Yes, there are for sure human rights conflicts with a lot of these rare materials that are in high quantities in EV batteries. Cobalt, nickel, lithium, the complicated ones. But yeah, I don't know the full story of that. But surely combustion cars are simpler materials, generally speaking.
Yeah. We talked, I think, last time, or I think maybe you did a video about it after we brushed the conversation about the environmental impact of buying a used, relatively efficient and good shape car and keeping that car going versus driving an EV, a new EV, and where those lines of energy and earth impact intersect.
Yes.
Remind me generally where that intersection happens.
It's fun that you brought this up because I just did a new video on this with new numbers that I just posted yesterday.
Oh, really? Cool. Excellent.
Yes. So, yeah.
Oh,
so
is
I had
Toyota
the RAV4
SUV greener than a Tesla is the title of the video. And I'm jealous of your view counts already, you fuckity fuck.
So I had the RAV4 Prime in, which is phenomenal. It's the car everyone needs. It gets everyone happy. It's a little expensive, so that part still needs work. But regardless, my idea with that video was I want to compare this really good plug-in. Can it actually provide a huge green benefit and still not give up that combustion engine? Mm-hmm. Average internal combustion engine, say you drive it 200,000 miles, that's about 90 tons, metric tons of CO2.
90 tons, okay.
Yes. Tesla Model 3, if you were to also drive it about 200,000 miles, and based on Tesla's impact report numbers, about 40 tons of CO2. So less than half over 200,000 miles.
Right.
And so
that's CO2 created by creating the electricity to charge that car, not to manufacture it, or is it both?
Both. Yes. So Tesla actually, according to their impact report, their production numbers are actually really good. They say something like 6 tons to make the car and about 5 tons for the battery. And based on my small limited knowledge of the subject, they're close to about half of what I've seen averages be.
Wow,
that's pretty good.
That's significant.
Yeah. And 2 things help them out. So first of all, they're making a ton of batteries, right? So when you make things at scale, it's easier for them to be less pollutant overall per individual thing.
Right.
The other thing they do is they try to do solar on over their factories, that kind of stuff, where they pull in renewable energy
to run the
for
factory
production
itself. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So the more they can do of that, the lower they can get their production numbers. And looking at their numbers, to me, they seem like really good.
So the question then is, and I'm not this great at math, doing math
no worries.
where my shit falls apart. You compared a new plug-in hybrid Toyota RAV4 SUV to the Model 3. What if we change the comparison to a used car? Because now we have eliminated all of the production because you're buying a car that's already here.
Yep.
So where does that distance crossover shift?
It's not very long at all. It really isn't. It's like maybe 4 or 5 years.
That's long. 4 or 5 years with a car? That's long. What do you mean?
No. I'm saying in order for the Tesla to make up its benefits.
Oh, okay. 4 or 5 years. Oh, okay.
Like people will say, hey, I should drive this old thing because that doesn't require new stuff. And I am for sure on board with the consumerism isn't generally a healthy thing. Like we don't need to buy stuff constantly. Mm-hmm. But from a mathematical standpoint of which will have more emissions, me buying an old efficient car or me buying a new really efficient car? Generally speaking, buying that new really efficient car will be better overall. Very quickly too.
Even with the materials that are needed to make the car, like a new car,
because
so that plus the cleaner emissions is actually a lower sum of dirtiness than driving the old car that's already been built but is just far more polluting.
Yes, because the easiest thing to realize this is that the emissions per year from driving it are very high. The emissions to produce it there, but average scale, say maybe it takes 10,000 kilograms to make the vehicle, 6,000 kilograms per year in emissions.
Jeez.
So there's a bunch of emissions to make stuff, just constantly draining the earth, probably not super good advice.
I'll tell you where the math works in the old car's favor.
Okay.
If you don't drive that many miles.
Exactly.
Frankly, if you drive less than less than 10,000 a year, maybe 7,000, 8,000 a year, that difference of where it makes up now stretches from 5 years, like he said, to 10 years. Now it makes a lot of sense to drive that older car.
Well,
go ahead, Zach.
Jason, the math would then be, the older the car, maybe by decade, will pollute more by X, and then so that has to have a formula with, okay, if I drive a car from the 60s, 8,000 miles, that's worse than if I drive a car from the 90s, 8,000 miles.
Right.
If they're of a similar class of vehicle, right? So it's gonna adjust either way.
Right. Well, pollution is based on, per mile. If you buy a brand new car and you don't drive it very many miles, even if you keep it for 5 years, you know what I'm saying? You might end up 1-to-1 with building it and driving it. You know what I mean?
But what's even better to do in that scenario is to just buy a Nissan Leaf for $4,000 that has a tiny little battery pack.
Right. True.
And then that's going to be even
good luck
better.
selling that to somebody, though. I mean, good luck telling people what you want is a Leaf with a 50% depreciated battery capacity.
If you don't drive much.
True.
If you don't drive much, who cares?
Well, I think there's a distinction between I don't drive much and I never need to go more than 40 miles ever.
Right.
Right. And my wife doesn't drive very much. She works from home. She mainly goes to the grocery store or whatever local, but once or twice a month she drives to San Diego to see her brother. That's, you know what I mean? That doesn't drive much. Doesn't mean she doesn't have to have occasional needs that exceed 100 miles.
Yes. So you brought up a great point, and I actually wanted to kind of come up with a number for that for the RAV4 Prime versus a Tesla. Say I don't drive much, and so based on average numbers, like industry average numbers, I got about 95,000 miles. If you drive that car over its lifetime less than 95,000 miles, you're better off getting the Toyota. But then when I plug in Tesla's numbers from their impact report, that number changes to about 45,000 miles. So I don't know if those numbers are accurate, right? I'm just basing it off of what Tesla said. But 45,000 miles.
Dangerous game. Basing it off what Tesla said.
Hence, I'm telling you this. That's why I did both in the video, because I don't want to base it purely on that.
Color me shocked they don't add up.
Well, I think Tesla's cleaner than average. I don't know how much.
Of course they're cleaner than average. Yeah, of course they're cleaner than average. I believe that Tesla, if they were honest about things, would still be pretty good. But because they're trying to be fucking Superman, they cannot be honest about things, and just, they need to keep the hype machine going. So
I think your resentment towards Tesla, and here we're going to go down a dark path, but anyways, I think your resentment towards Tesla is a result of Elon on Twitter, which is like not a good place.
He registered it as an official communications device of the company with the SEC. His Twitter.
His Twitter, huh?
His Twitter is more careful with what he says or less?
Well, we have now learned that the SEC doesn't do anything with him. So in theory, he should be looked at, Well, actually, he did pay a fucking fine for that.
He's gotten investigated several times.
Yeah, so I mean, his tweets are official company pronouncements officially.
Okay.
That actually probably means he has to be more careful than he did before.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, he's not good at Twitter. He is good at Twitter in like a marketing sense, but he's not good at Twitter. But if you listen to him in other interviews, I
listened to him on Joe Rogan. He sounded like a goddamn moron. He sounded like an idiot on Rogan both times he was on. When he talks about the tunnels on Rogan the first time, we dug a pit. Oh, fucking congratulations. You dug a hole in your backyard and decided to drive a car through it. Good job.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to dive onto his one small kind of useless little company out of big picture of everything that he works on and say this is why he's dumb.
No, the problems that I have come from the marketing of things that aren't real for money that is real. That to me is fraudulent.
And now everyone does that.
Well, that doesn't make it any more okay if he does it.
No. I hate it. I hate that it's become a trend.
Yeah. So I don't believe in marketing and selling things that aren't real. If that makes me alarmist or somehow a hater, I will own that. But you're marketing and selling something that's not real. And furthermore, you're doing so by overstating the capability of the product that is being used by people who take you at your word on public roads around other people who have not consented to be part of the beta test. Myself on a motorcycle included. So I am personally offended that he thinks it's okay to risk my life without my consent because his valuation is more important than my safety.
Yeah, so basically the real world has just adopted what internet culture has been doing for a long time with clickbait.
It's very dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous, yes. So we create these fun, and it's the worst part of YouTube, but create these fun and exciting titles and thumbnails for the whole purpose of getting someone to click. That's the goal of the title and thumbnail. It's not to describe what it's about, it's to get someone to click. Then the video is about whatever you want to talk about. So now with the cars, it's hey, let's call it full self-driving. It will achieve the goal of getting people to click buy. But does it actually do it? That's a different story. And so
that's called
it's
fraud. That's fraudulent marketing. Those
words they put in tiny letters
this
is fraud.
Pretend like those three words don't mean what they say is fraud. That is literally, there's no different from Subway saying a foot long is a trademark of Subway and not actually a foot long. Even though for all of human history, something described as a foot long is 12 inches.
Matt, ketchup is a vegetable.
To put the words full self-driving together and say this vehicle comes with something that is full self-driving, and then pretend that those three words, when you put them together, don't actually mean what they clearly fucking mean. That's fraud. It just is.
Yeah, it's clickbait. It's real life clickbait.
Yeah, real life clickbait is called fraud, Jason.
No, it's not. It's called writing. It's called a bill these days. You know?
It's not. It's putting something on the box and having a different thing inside the box. That's called fucking fraud.
Totally
that's real life clickbait.
Like every bill though is called like the Matt, here's a free jacket bill, and in that bill they're gonna take your jacket away and then make you pay for them to give it back to you. Like that's. You know, in politics, they'll be like, "This is the Americans Against Privacy Act," and then they do something that is the opposite.
Dude, just because politicians do
I'm
this
not saying
bullshit,
it's okay, but I'm backing up Jason that it happened. It's so prevalent that Tesla and Elon are not the first people to do this.
It doesn't make it fucking right. I don't.
I'm
I don't
not
think
saying
it does
it's
either.
right. I'm not saying it's right, but what they're doing is they're selling you a box of cereal, right? It says this is a box of cereal, and then in small print it says it's not yet a box of cereal, and people buy it anyways.
But then they go on the internet and eat what's in the box and go, "This is fucking cereal. See, it's cereal."
But that's not Tesla saying it.
Oh, you know what that's called? That's called stochastic terror. Stochastic terror is where the terrorist doesn't actually do the terror. They just have a rabid audience of people that know they can be nudged with the right words or actions to commit terror on their behalf. It's incredibly Trumpy. And it's what autocrats and despots and cult leaders do. It's how fucking Charles Manson Charles Manson didn't murder anybody.
Yeah,
he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying?
I think Twitter Elon does give off Trumpy vibes.
100%. And fucking Tesla culty people give off fucking MAGA vibes, dude. It's authoritarian and culty, and again, it goes back to what they are being authoritarian and culty about, which is that these cars do things they don't do. And they're going to do those things on public roads where I'm on a motorcycle.
Right. But Tesla does say, I think the name is awful. I think the name is trash. And I have said that. And I don't have full self-driving on my Tesla because it's not actually full self-driving.
Because you're smart and didn't give him $10,000 for nothing.
Yeah. I don't even have autopilot. I just have that weak little wheel cruise control. But they do like we have a fairly strange country that has fairly strange rules, and like legally they write on their cereal box it's not cereal, and then they sell it.
Right.
So can I tell them that is wrong?
If you eat the cereal that isn't cereal, I don't get food poisoning. Again, all of this goes back to the fact that the rest of the world has not opted into this beta. And if you opt into the beta and the beta has a fucking crash, the first person to hang you out to dry is Tesla and Elon Musk.
Yes,
it's your
They say
fault.
it right on the cereal box.
They say it right on the cereal box.
To someone, you poisoned them.
Yes.
The cereal analogy is amazing.
You know, and so to me, I'm sorry, that is offensive. It's not a wink, wink marketing thing. It's offensive. You are implicitly implying that because we're so used to these disclaimers, the GPS has them, the CarPlay has them. We are so used to just hitting accept and moving on and doing whatever the fuck we were going to do.
Yep.
That if you allow people to just hit that disclaimer and move on, it's implicit. It's implicit that the disclaimer is there for some nanny legal fucking thing, and it's only there because the law says it has to be, and the car could really do it if the government just let us.
Yes.
But the truth is, in that one car, 4 cars that they make, that fucking disclaimer is there because that shit doesn't do what it says it does. That's why it's there.
And so it goes to this argument that people like to make of we all get to make our own choices, right? The challenge is we know that marketing works. Right?
Yes.
So we can tell you cigarettes are bad for you. We can tell you Coca-Cola is bad for you. We can tell you whatever, but we know that marketing works. So if we advertise, even though we've told you, hey, these things are bad, we also know that for a fact, we can get you to consume those things.
Yeah. If you smoke this cigarette, you're going to meet a chick that looks like the one sitting right here. fine print. You're going to die in 50 years.
Yeah. So we know marketing works, and also we think people have free choice, and it's like, well, which one is it?
True, and it's all very. It's just very wink, wink. It's not been handled with the caution of something that carries the level of danger that it does. And I'm also, and the fact that it's all wrapped in this blanket of safety, which it very clearly is not. It's very clearly a money grab. It's not, has nothing to do with safety. It's a shiny new toy and a money grab. It's got nothing to do with safety. And it's offensive to me.
Okay, so
that's why I get mad.
Here's one little coin that I'm going to put in the Elon jar. He had an interview with Sandy Munro fairly recently.
Tesla stockholder bragged about how much money he made.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. Sandy Munro likes Tesla. That's well established. So, and he has reasons, financial reasons to like Tesla.
Yeah. Super objective, this guy. Can be trusted.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, so that's a good preface to this. But basically, he asked Elon, or he was describing to Elon this scenario where he was testing full self-driving beta, and it acted up because the road lines were all wonky, right? And he saw this news agency say oh, the thing doesn't work because it didn't work in this scenario, right? With these strange lines. And he's like, Elon, that's crap. The lines were wrong. That's what Sandy Munro said. And Elon very quickly was like, no, that is our fault. No matter what, the responsibility of the car should be do not get in a crash. It shouldn't be that everyone has to get all the lines right. We have to figure out everything. So I think that is the correct mentality. I think we just have an infrastructure that was made for human driving cars, not automated driving cars.
Well, I think that's true, and I think that's a very, very low bar you just gave him. The lowest bar. That's the low. Sure, I'll give him the. Yes, it is his responsibility. I don't give a shit if the lines are fucking wrong. It is his responsibility for the car to not get in a crash. Of
course,
that is the absolute lowest bar to clear.
But he didn't take Sandy Munro's side when he stated that, and I thought that was admirable because it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the right thing for him to do in that instance. I think he would have looked like an asshole if he tried to defend the lines being wrong. Because well, do you want to be right or do you want to be dead? You want to be right and dead or wrong and alive. And I don't think he wants to make a dangerous product. I don't think he wants to make a product that's half-baked. I think his job is not selling cars, it's selling stock. That's his job. Sell stock. Get people to buy stock. And the bullshit he's doing, it works because people are buying stock. And the stock is unrelated to the cars.
Well, it keeps the.
I mean, they do make good cars.
They make okay cars. They don't make
what's
good
okay.
cars.
What?
I just did a film
you had a tweet
for my
yesterday.
new show on Haggerty. My new show on Haggerty's coming out.
Yep.
And I did a film with a shop that tunes Teslas.
Okay.
And one of the techs who works for their shop went into great detail with me about the state of the vehicles that arrive factory fresh at their facility. It was pretty horrifying, the details that he went into. Bolts missing, components missing. They weigh every car that comes in, and the weight of Model 3s varies by up to 200 pounds, spec for spec, identical. Really sketchy quality issues. So
I think part of that, yes, they do have quality issues. Another part of it, people are also very focused on them. If I made a video talking about all the problems with my new Crosstrek that I bought, no one's going to watch it. No one cares that the Crosstrek quality, paint quality, and panel gaps were off. I made a video on my Tesla panel gaps and paint quality, and 1 million people watched it, right? Mm-hmm. And so Car and Driver did a study where they looked at a bunch of different cars, and they found Tesla to be average, maybe average minus, but it wasn't near the bottom of panel gaps and paint quality from the factory.
Who was?
Right?
Do you remember?
Who was at the bottom?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The worst I've seen recently was a C8 Corvette, actually. The C8 Corvette press car was actually not press car. A customer car was worse than any Tesla I've seen recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fairness, the worst I've seen was not a Tesla.
So part of it is people like to talk about them being trash because people like to have a strong opinion about, the leading, most prominent electric car maker that there is right now.
Well, that's fair. And it's fair that saying that talking about Tesla is a clickbaity way to get people to watch your stuff. And color me shocked that people would watch a video about your Model 3 over one about your Subaru. Listen, I bought one of the best cars I've ever owned in my life was a Chevy Volt. Nobody gave a fuck.
Oh,
it was
I love the Chevy Volt.
Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody.
Yeah, I loved Chevy Volt. I recommend it all the time. Second gen Chevy Volt, killer car.
But I'm telling you, dude, I've never heard anything. I've worked with so many tuner shops. I've never heard anything like this about the stock cars, about sections that were just missing. I've never heard of anything like that. And I had a Focus RS that had the fucking Lincoln head gasket in it.
Yeah.
So,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you talk to any dealer technician, they're gonna be like, "Man, our cars are crap."
This wasn't a technician. This was a guy who modifies them. But
okay,
okay.
Works in a shop, sees them new.
Yeah, well, that scares me. You see a car new and there's bolts missing. That's scary to me.
Sure.
Isn't it? Shouldn't that be worrying a little bit? There's not been a recall for it. It's not like Tesla's like, hey, we fucked up and send back our cars because there's bolts missing. I mean, I found out that the Ford, that my car had the wrong gasket because Ford publicly recalled the cars.
Yeah.
There's no, I've never heard
Tesla just had a recall. It wasn't public. NHTSA made them do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, NHTSA made them do it because they don't do fucking recalls. They don't get made. But I think they make okay cars. Not great.
Okay, so that's what I'm curious about because yesterday you were chatting with trying to convince a friend to get a Mach-E. I wasn't
trying to convince, but I have a Mach-E on order that's coming in a couple of weeks. I drove one for a week and I bought one.
What about it do you like more than a Model Y?
In fairness, I have only sat in a Model Y. I haven't driven a Model Y.
Okay, fair.
I haven't.
But you've driven Model 3s, yeah?
I've driven plenty of Model 3s. Yeah, I've driven a bunch of different Model 3s. It's the same thing with a taller roof. And if you go watch my review, in general, I like the Model 3.
Yeah.
In general, I find it to be a lovely little appliance that does a bunch of regular car things well. And the fact that it has a very low cowl, I really like. I think that's great. I really enjoy that. The ones I've driven have been extremely varying in quality. Really big spread. Big
Same.
Spread.
I have had two, and the second one was much nicer than the first one.
Yeah, the first one I had was horrible. The second one, the performance was better, and then I drove a third one that was nightmarish. And it's been a little hit or miss. And so
but let's say let's ignore quality issues. Not that that's something you should do. You should absolutely pay attention to it. But let's say you
drives me nuts.
Like if you had in your garage a perfect Model Y and a perfect Mach-E, what makes you choose the Mach-E is basically my question.
Well, I mean, I prefer the interior quality of the Mach-E.
I would say build quality.
Like I haven't driven a Model Y. The last Tesla I drove was a Model 3 dual performance, and as a driving experience, I really liked it. And the modified one that you're featuring, which we won't talk about, like I have always enjoyed the driving experience of all of those cars. But when I sat in the seats, looked around, touched the leather felt really thin. The interior felt really simple. And I know that part of that is their architecture and what they want it to look like. But I feel like the other part was this is a way for them to save money. They're using the tablet and everything. The Mach-E had a wider variety of materials inside. I like the design of the interior more. I like the touch points better. I like the quality of the seat material. It just felt like
a little more substantial.
It felt like it was going to hold together better over a longer period of time. I know that is just hypothetical, but man, when I got in the Tesla seats, I was like, I'm going to tear this leather just by sitting in it. It just felt really, really thin. and oversimplified because it felt like a cost saving measure. And then I also I didn't like the center tablet being the only thing I could look at. But that's
so it's like a subjective interior styling thing. You like the interior in for a lot of different reasons more.
Oh, it's definitely subjective. I felt like the interior was put together in a higher quality and made from higher quality materials. But that's subjective because unless, we all build a machine that tests how much, that just like a piston that hits the seat and tests how many butts hit it, and put them side by side and then check back in a year. Like, obviously it's just subjective.
An objectively, quote, better leather or whatever might not necessarily feel, because the human body doesn't work like a machine.
Right. Yes. Okay. I mean, I think that's fair. But just in that tweet of like trying to convince this friend, hey, if you're going to buy a Model Y, you should buy a Mach-E. Like, I feel like there are reasons to go either way.
I really started trying to get him into a Kona EV because he wanted. This is a dude. This is a guy I went to high school with. My friend Jeff.
Didn't those get recalled for fire though?
The EVs did?
They might have.
Oh, they might have. I didn't see that. Okay, well, I didn't see that. Sorry. He hates driving.
Your friend burned.
He hates driving. He's not a good driver. And when he does drive, he doesn't drive very far. Okay? He lives in Miami Beach. He drives maybe 10 miles a day, maybe. Okay? And he didn't want to spend over $400. That was it. And so I said, and he actually asked me about a gas Mini, like a Mini Cooper. And I was like, look, you should probably check out a couple of EVs because they fit your lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I said, you can get an entry-level Tesla. I said, but the quality is This guy's used to driving German cars. He drives BMWs, okay? So the quality is, but, I said, you can check out the Mach-E. I don't know what the leases are, but you might be able to get one in your range. And you should definitely check out the Kona EV because it's really cheap and, like, pretty nice for what you're getting.
True.
And I wouldn't say I convinced him. He said, what's your favorite? I said, well, I've bought a Mach-E. It's on its way. And he texted me back like 2 hours later, just saying, I went with a Tesla. I bought it online. I didn't want to go to a dealer. And I was like, really?
Wow.
He's like, yeah, no dealer. That's it. So
I mean, dealers do kind of suck sometimes.
Of course they do.
Oh, yeah.
Of course they suck. Of course they suck. But like, and look, if I understand why dealers, like, I think people don't really understand why dealers exist. Like, there was a time before that when there was a lot of ways for manufacturers to rip people off.
Yeah.
Like, this was like an antitrust thing that we have the dealers now. It's literally so we don't get ripped off by the manufacturers. I'm pretty sure if the system was working properly, Jason, am I wrong? Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah. So when I think about this, like, to me, I kind of think about, like, when people don't like certain things, sometimes it's because they genuinely don't like them. Sometimes it's because it goes against their team and they just like want to bring up things they don't like. And so, like, I feel like Tesla is a very good example of a company that creates a product that takes down all those things that you're saying are terrible about something. So the EV driving experience, generally pretty terrible. Buying a car at a dealership, like, pretty terrible. Charging experience, terrible. Range, terrible, right? Like early EVs. And then Tesla comes in and is like when I bought my Tesla, I bought it online and it was literally at my house 2 days later.
Right. That's good. Like, that would be great.
That's insane.
Even if you had to go through a dealer, like even if the website was a dealer website and the same thing happened, you'd probably be just as happy with the experience.
Yep.
You don't need to have a factory direct purchase to be able to buy something online and have it arrive at your house.
No, I think they just started that trend.
Yeah, of course.
They were like the
credit.
market test that they're like, well, maybe people will do this. And all the other dealerships are like, holy shit, people will buy a car just with clicking buttons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like the infotainment system, right? So voice navigation. When I give a very specific address and I turn on the voice thing and I say, Tesla, navigate to whatever. You don't have to say Tesla, you just say navigate. But navigate to whatever. It gets it right 90+% of the time. Like, very good voice recognition. And I could go in this. I promise I could go in this right now and it wouldn't get numbers right.
Oh no,
like I could say 9.
Mazda's
and
multimedia
like,
is horrible. They
No, I'm saying the Lexus. Like,
Lexus is horrible too.
They're so bad at recognizing
really
voice, and Tesla's like, well, we'll just make it work. Like, they put in the effort.
Sure.
And so
you have to
I think there's
understand
a lot
something,
of those.
Jason. I had no issues at all with fucking Tesla until they started lying about their cars driving themselves. I mean, literally, that was it. I didn't say anything bad about them until they started flagrantly lying about this kind of stuff.
I also don't like the
really
deposit
wrong with the
system.
car. It's not the best car in the world, but it does a lot of things well. The interface is great. I love that fucking full city view map screen that you get all the time. I don't even have to
they just
program
updated
in
it and made it
routes a lot.
worse. But
they did? Oh, that's terrible. Well, sorry, but I like that interface. Like, I totally understand why someone might want to buy the car, dude. They've definitely contributed to automotive culture, for sure. But they're selling something that isn't real, and it's causing overconfident people to use that shit in my fucking presence, and my safety feels threatened.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, like, do you equally bash Volkswagen for what they did? Do you equally bash GM for what they did?
Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah, Dieselgate, you mean? Well, fuck yeah, I did. I spent months on that. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's fair then.
The cylinder fucking recall, we spent months on that shit.
We did. Yeah, I mean, because I think right now there's maybe a recency bias thing where, Dieselgate was a long time ago. We all watched Dirty Money, which really highlights how
Dirty
evil
Money,
it was,
yeah,
and recommended it. But we talked about it a long time ago. And then with GM just flip flopping when the new administration came in, they're like, we are really a big fan of green technology because now it suits our narrative.
Right. I shat on GM for their for killing the EV1 and then coming out with 1,000 horsepower 3-ton Hummer as they're offering. Like, oh yeah, you're fucking real conservationists. You know what I mean? Like, well, we don't exclusively shit on Tesla. We shit on other people.
And you know what's interesting about it is the other companies, because they've been around so long, they kind of know how to play the PR game really well, which mostly is to shut the fuck up. But Elon, being Elon, tweets about a lot of things, promises a lot of things, and he's out there advertising all this stuff.
Yeah.
So he makes himself, he's like a deer popping out of the woods, waving at you, and the others are like, we're going to test this over here.
Yeah. And no one is saying that they shouldn't develop AV technology. Like, no one is saying they shouldn't have, a nice ADAS, Advanced Driver's Aid System. Like, you just don't fucking deceptively market it and then pretend like that's not what you're doing.
Yeah, I can agree with that completely. I think their marketing on full self-driving is trash and deceptive and not the right thing to do. I thought, like, for example, when what's her name, Bara with GM, when she announced, hey, 2035 all EVs, then 4 days later,
my eyes rolled out the back of my head and out my fucking asshole.
4 days later, they announced CT5V Blackwing, the most powerful Cadillac ever.
Yes, exactly that. No, 100%.
It's like, this is all for marketing. This isn't because you care.
No, it's dude, and like, bro, I think the Ram TRX is like peak. It's got to be peak gasoline, right?
Oh, I
put a 700 horsepower engine in a pickup truck that loses almost 200 horsepower by the time that power gets the tires. And it's like 75 feet wide.
Or like the Ram Power Wagon is technically in its own classification, so they don't have to post fuel economy numbers.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to have EPA numbers.
Dude, how fucked up is it that we still have laws on the books that allow you to get away with shit if you make your truck big and heavy enough? I mean, that's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? This is still a law? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, you want to supercharge that car? Not in this state. With that giant truck? That's fine.
New 3500. Oh, that's the 3500? That's got the Allison gearbox, huh? All right, son. Roll that coal when you get out of here, huh? Let me see it.
Like, was that law created, to make it easier for commercial truck producers and stuff, and then it just, normal passenger trucks just got big enough to dip into that rule?
I believe so. It was a.
I would have to look it up,
I think God, the intricacies of the chicken tax are not something I'm really up to date on right now. But basically, yes, it was pretty much a rule that allowed commercial trucks to exist outside of certain passenger car regulations. And once manufacturers realized we could sell SUVs, which are basically trucks on enclosed,
Right.
You
By
know,
frame cars.
they don't have to be. Yeah.
I think the chicken tax was also to keep imported small trucks from coming in from Japan.
Yes, there
it
was
was like,
that.
hey, don't
That
bring
was
that
a
stuff
thing.
in here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to look this up before I comment on it too much.
We should move
No,
on.
like right now. Like, we'll move on. Let me just read this law really quick. All 350 pages.
Yeah, all right. It seems like we got a lot of questions going on. Do we need to do some of them?
We do, and I highlighted the
answer some
ones that are kind
questions?
of
We are gonna
related.
answer?
I'd say related to Jason.
All right.
So we can go through those first.
Jason, we'll go through Jason's expertise questions first. DK wants to know, what minimum temperature should I run summer tires?
Is DK Donkey Kong or Drift King?
I mean,
It's definitely Donkey Kong.
Definitely Donkey Kong. Drift King
Okay.
would know his tire temperatures in and out.
Or he wouldn't care.
Yeah.
It's full send.
So,
Yeah.
so that's a very interesting question, and it depends. Of course, is the answer. Most tire companies, to check their legal box, will say 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't drive under. That said, I did a video and people got really mad at me for this. In fact, I think even Tire Rack got a little angry at me for this. I did a video where I showed a Bridgestone RE71R, so basically a street legal track tire. In 25 degree Fahrenheit, it was better at stopping than a winter tire on dry road.
Get the fuck out of here, really?
Yeah,
Now,
significantly
that's so
better.
interesting. Really?
Yes. So the thing is, people are told, hey, don't do below 40. In reality, it depends. A Michelin Cup 1, not Cup 2, but a Cup 1, those can get pretty sketchy at cold temperatures. Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, which like probably is stated, hey, don't go below 40.
No, they're good down to the 30s for
if
sure.
it's dry,
Yeah.
if it's dry, you're good.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were up in the canyons yesterday with,
go
and
ahead.
it was in the 40s. It was damp in the 40s Fahrenheit. And we were in the Civic Type R on Cup 2s. And the grip was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
it was pretty good. Unless you were going flat in first gear, you know, they were working. It was not a problem.
If I lived in a place that never had snow or ice, I would only run summers.
I would say the one thing to worry about, in my experience, is old tires in the cold. You know what I mean? If you're gonna push it and run the summer tire year round, make sure they're pretty new. Don't run the old.
Yeah, I mean,
they're already getting more brittle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think summer tires are going to tend to wear a little faster, so usually that probably won't be a problem. But if you don't drive much, then yeah.
That's so funny. I guess it's in your head. You know, when you put Blizzaks on the car and you go out in the winter and it's cold and it's dry and you go, oh, this is just like having a summer tire. That's horseshit. That's in your head. That's how interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Winter tires are really good at snow, and they're pretty bad at everything else comparatively.
Yeah. I just did for my new show on Haggerty a real B5 RS4 imported, fucking cool, Avant.
Nice.
Lifted on a set of Vredestein snow tires, and I drove it on an icy, patches of wet tarmac and slushy snow and ice at Monticello Motor Club, and then in a dirty, icy rally stage. It was better on the track. It was better on the icy tarmac than it was in the mud. But that could be because the engine is 7 feet in front of the front wheels in that car too.
Well, mud tires are also
different
than
That's
snow
different.
tires. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I actually just ran up to Dirtfish and did their rally driving school. Oh my God, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it's a fucking cool place, right?
Yes, such a cool place.
Did they have the sick collection of rally cars in the main lodge still?
I don't know if they did. I don't remember seeing many. What I thought was funny is I guess it's the sheriff's office for the show Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And so they get people apparently that come in and are like, oh, we want to see the office. And they're like, oh, we have these cool cars. Do you want to check them out? And they're like, no. We just want to see the sheriff's office.
Yeah, we don't give a shit. Yeah. No, when I was there, they had a McRae car. It was fucking sick. They had a McRae car. Yeah, no. The guy who owns that place collects proper rally cars.
Right
Might have
on.
been down in the barn.
Yeah, maybe so.
Here's a pertinent question, actually. Tom M. wants to know, how would electric car overnight charging work in a city like New York City with very limited off-street parking? Oof. A city planning question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is owning a car like in New York?
Shitty. I owned a car in New York City. It's shitty. It's really expensive. I mean, there's because I'm now in the parking industry, I can tell you the average price in Los Angeles for like an unassigned space at an apartment building. Like you live in an apartment and you get a space with your apartment. The average price is $275 a month. That's LA.
Wow.
And that's high compared to any mid-sized city, a Philly,
sure,
or a Miami, or a whatever. LA is probably twice, so it's probably like $150 a month anywhere else, right? Or any
I mean,
other.
$275's a low car payment,
right? You want to park a car in Manhattan? Average space, unassigned parking in Manhattan, $692 a month. So
that's dumb.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, right? It's crazy expensive. And I've got two types of customers here at Westside. People who have parked cars in Manhattan and people who have never parked cars in Manhattan. Anyone who's parked in Manhattan goes, "Oh my God, you're so affordable." And anyone who doesn't goes, "Jesus, you're very expensive."
Yeah. That's crazy. So I don't know what a solution is for New York City, but I assume owning a car there is generally fairly miserable.
It's pretty miserable. Yeah, it is. You basically, in my opinion, they would have to do street level charging stations. Like they're starting to do in LA. Although in LA, fucking Angelenos cannot be trusted because these fucking people are cutting the cords. They're just vandalizing them. They're just a city
like the bird scooters all over again.
Oh, Jesus, the bird scooters.
People are probably stealing the copper out of the wires.
Right, bro. The homeless folks would be stealing the bird scooters and like disassembling them for like the electronics and shit.
I think they figured out a way to ride them without paying as well, because you'll see them cruising like there's no way this.
Yeah, they figured out how to disconnect them from the network and just ride them, and they figured out how to disassemble them and use their battery packs to like power their shit.
Life finds a way.
Yes, I hate to laugh at that, but you're right. Mike Pelch says, Jason, if you had to choose a 1986 to 1996 car under $30,000 and Miata is not the answer, what would it be?
Oh boy,
86
under
to 96.
$30,000. I would get that car right there and say, screw that old nonsense. I'm bad at these questions. And the reason why is because I genuinely get excited about learning about new things, and old cars have already happened, right? So it's less exciting to me, and I don't get as enthusiastic about it.
Oh my God, I can relate to that. I was driving these fan cars for so long. The old car. I had a thing where I'd drive people's cars, and it was cars that were out before YouTube. That was the thing. Everyone does a YouTube video of the new car. I'll collect all the cars before. But just like you said, old cars are old. You know what I mean? It's like they've already been out. So you run through your checklist, but ultimately there's nothing new to say, is there? And new cars have something new to talk about. That's very eloquently put. Ryuka Chu says, Jason, what is some motor or battery technology just now coming out, like Ultium? I don't know what Ultium is, that gets you hyped.
So Ultium is GM's. That's like GM's marketing term for their battery lineup. They've got like pouch cells. Everyone kind of doing their own version of cells for lithium ion electric cars at this point. I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think in research there has been shown 7 times the energy density of what we're doing now is possible. Now that's in a lab, right? That's not in something that's affordable that lasts for 200,000 miles. But like solid state seems somewhat promising. And I think, I don't know what it'll be. Like, I'm not in that world of research, but based on the small amount of literature I've read on it, like higher energy densities will happen. We've seen it happen already. Nissan Leaf has the same pack size 7 years later with double the energy. So it can be done. It will get better. I don't know what it is.
I read a very cool story the other day about a guy who quit his job and went #van life for pandemic status, and ended up in what do they call that city? It's like Great Rock City or somewhere.
Slab City.
Slab City. Ended up in Slab City. Fenske, you know what Slab City is?
I don't know what Slab City is.
Imagine the movie Waterworld on land. That's really Slab City, pretty much. It's a pretty much lawless place out in the desert where people who want to exit society and just do their own thing kind of end up, right? And so there's a lot of RV living and that kind of thing. But there's also like some level of community out there. It's a little wild. And so anyway,
it doesn't sound all bad.
No, it actually seems pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And so the story was about this guy who was basically taking recycled battery packs from Leafs and Fiats and smart cars, which, as I'm sure Jason could tell you, the energy required to run a laptop or run a TV or something is way less than the energy required to move a car. It's 60 miles an hour. So he's repurposing these things as home power walls, basically, for these like dudes out in Slab City. He rigs up the solar panel, the battery panel. He puts it in like a weatherproof kind of case, and he sells a power kit.
That's
off
rad.
the grid power kit. Pretty neat, actually.
Very cool.
That's awesome. And honestly, like price-wise, buying old Leafs is probably the way to go. Like you get a heck of a battery for your $1 with a used Leaf.
Yeah, that's cheaper than the Tesla home batteries. I think those are still pretty expensive.
Yeah, and apparently Tesla's Powerwall, industry-wise, is fairly affordable considering like the other options out there. So apparently they do a decent job price targeting. But buying a used Leaf and getting a 30 kilowatt-hour battery pack for $2 or $3 grand, like that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
That could be very interesting for your van life living, right? Amir says that he did a project his senior year of high school in 2009. A while ago. The TLDR said on an overall environmental scale, at the time, it was more environmentally friendly to drive a Hummer H2 than a Toyota Prius. I feel like I remember that statistic, and I feel like that was because the Priuses got shipped across the ocean twice.
I don't know what it was. I mean, a lot of times these things could just be wrong, right? Like,
we have not accounted for that, Jason.
This high
school student's project 11 years ago
I'm not
could
saying
be wrong.
like
That's very nice of you.
I'm not saying
way to support STEM.
I didn't mean to like the person's just saying, "Hey, I saw this," right? Like that's completely innocent on their part. People like there's a YouTube channel, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want them to get more views, but there's a YouTube channel that makes all these crazy claims about electric cars, and they do so without providing a single source the entire time. And it's like, well, what was the point, right? You're just saying stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say whenever you see something that sounds a little too good to be true, just see what the sources are. If it adds up, crazy, cool, there's an explanation. If it doesn't, and I don't think a Hummer H2, I mean, they get terrible fuel economy. There's no way carbon-wise it would ever come close.
That's why I have a very vague recollection of that factoid from that period of time, and I just feel like it was because the Priuses had to get shipped across the ocean twice. The chassis was made somewhere, sent somewhere, and then it was sent something for final assembly. It was something like that. What say you?
Not that we should speculate like there's an answer out there, but I bet what it was is they were saying from a production standpoint, not a lifetime standpoint.
Maybe it wasn't lifetime.
And that could be.
Yeah. Maybe it was just building it. Yeah, could be. Pure Hana says, after driving all versions of the Taycan, which version of the Cross Tour would be your pick?
Ooh.
Have you driven Taycan?
That's for you. I have not driven Taycan. You
haven't driven a Taycan? Oh,
no.
You really should.
I know. I really want to.
In fairness, they've had recalls on them. Porsche recalls their fucking EV. It had multiple recalls.
Really?
It did. Yes, it did.
Wow.
It had recalls. And also, there was an email circulating. It was unverified, but it was circulating from a dealer saying that the dealer would guarantee you allocation of a 992 GT3.
Oh, I saw
if you
that.
Bought
That
a
was
Taycan
foul.
Turbo S and had a sticker, which I believe. I mean, even if that, well. That sounds just like a car dealer.
Of course.
So whether or not that anecdote is true or not is unverified. But that sounds an awful lot like a car dealer.
Is that the EV version of the 918, 911R situation?
It's well, that was an official policy. You know, if you bought a 918, you got the rights for a decade to buy all the GT cars. So that was that. This sounds more like Ferrari, which is, oh, you'd like the new one. Well, you can buy this one, and then we'll buy it back from you when your new one comes in. That's how that scam works. Yeah. Jason, I highly recommend you drive a Taycan as soon as possible.
I want to. Yeah, I want
any
to.
trim. The Turbo S is batshit. It's a dragster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a proper dragster. It's unnecessary. It's absolutely unnecessary, as is the Turbo. The 4S is very, very fast. If you put me in a 4S and covered the badging and told me that it was the Turbo S, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lines up. And then I drove the base one, which is the rear drive only. It's the big battery, but one motor. And it was the cheapest one. It still goes, it's the longest range. It goes 300 miles. They won't say that, but it does. They'll say the EPA is like 250 something, I think.
Yeah,
but it'll go.
Had some 300-mile test.
Yeah, it'll go. I did 293 in the 4-wheel drive one.
Yeah, and that was the one the EPA was saying would only go like 205 or something really short.
Yeah. And so now we take the same car, same battery, remove 2 driven wheels. It'll probably do at least 7 more miles, probably. The cheap one is really where it's at. The rear drive, big motor,
Cheap is a
cheap's relative.
relative word.
But big battery, rear drive, $90,000-ish Taycan, that's fucking the shit. Because that's still a fast car. Still feels really fast, light, and tons of range, which is what you want.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was curious about your thoughts on with the Turbo S, because it's like over 5,000 pounds. I mean, it's a chonker, but does it feel?
No, it's a Cayman, dude. It handles unbelievably because they sink. The entire passenger compartment is sunk down as in between the wheels. Like it's much more like a Cayman than it is like a Panamera. It really is. Yeah, it's fucking, they're so badass, those things. I wish I could afford one. I thought maybe I could stretch and buy like the base one, but they were pretty much like, yeah, if you really want a base one, it'll be like 8 months to a year. And I was like, I can't wait for that. So we went for Mach-E. The Mach-E, by the way, is my, the premium. We got a premium premium rear drive, big battery in iconic silver, which is a beautiful color. They've done a really nice job with that silver.
Silver is not a beautiful color.
No, this silver is good. It's not regular silver. They do the sort of that sort of like, it looks like mercury. It's like it looks like a mercury.
It looks like a more pewter thing going, and I think the lines of the Mach-E it accentuates them, because a lot of cars, especially the really slab slided stuff today, it just looks really flat with silver.
And Jason, to be perfectly honest, if I could have picked a color, if they said, yeah, we've got 12 coming in, pick a color, I probably would not have gone silver. They said, we can get you a silver one in 4 weeks. And I said, let me look it up. And I looked up, pull up a picture of iconic silver. It's a nice looking, have you seen it? It's a nice looking silver.
It's not team grayscale, and despite the color of my hair.
Dude, I got a pink off-road Porsche. I got a fucking red Lamborghini. I drive a mint green Vespa.
So why are you getting a silver Mach-E?
It's not really silver. It's more like, it's more pewter. See, look at the image. It catches the light really nicely on this car.
Does anyone see a color other than silver?
I mean, it is silver, but it's not. It doesn't look like a typical cheapy Ford silver, is what I'm saying. It looks
Matt,
like.
if you like it, that's all that matters.
I don't really care. It's an inoffensive whatever car.
Yeah, it'll look clean all the time.
It looks clean. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice. I
would have bought Grabber Blue. I might have gone for a red or something like that if the car had been out for 3 years and I said, find me one in this color. But it's new, and so whatever. I didn't want to wait like 8 weeks.
That was part of my disappointment with the ID4. The base version only has white, silver, gray, black.
Yeah, that's not good. That's very Volkswagen.
It's like, but the Golf R you can get in like the coolest colors the car world has ever made.
That's true. They do not. Are they built in different factories? That could be why.
I have no idea, but it's like, why can you offer such cool paint jobs on a Golf R and not on an ID4?
I bet you it's because of where they're built. I bet one factory has the capability and the other factory doesn't to save fucking money.
I mean, don't you just put paint on the nozzle and go?
No, it doesn't work.
No,
like
I don't know. It's a paint gun, right? It's probably just like I bet they just want to sell the more premium car will have nicer colors, and that's a way to get you to move up to the next class.
Did you drive ID4 though? Did you like it?
I was disappointed. I generally am trying to get my hands on every EV because I kind of like this movement. I think it's new and it's fun and it's exciting. But like Tesla, as I was saying earlier, like there are certain things people don't like about electric cars. And Volkswagen has a lot of those with their first mass market car.
The things that people don't like about electric cars.
Right. The charging experience is awful. The auto navigation is not there. The interface is very new and unintuitive. So you're putting people in this new position saying, hey, this is a new car, new market. We're going to get everyone into this. And then you give them this, what am I doing? What is all of this? So I just feel like when they state, hey, our strategy is to get millions of people in electric cars, and then this is what comes out, they don't match up.
That's a good assessment.
Same analogy, Tesla saying that they're all about the environment and getting people into electric cars and transitioning us to sustainable energy, and then creating the Cybertruck. Like, those don't line up.
Yeah. It just depends on what future movies Elon's watching that week. He started by watching Spaceballs, and it was like we got ludicrous mode and shit. And then he spent like 6 months just watching Total Recall on repeat and going, "We need a fucking Johnny Cab. Give me a goddamn Johnny Cab."
So in this Volkswagen ID4, like I told it to navigate far away, and it tells me to pull up to a 7 kilowatt charger, right? And you know what that means. I know what that means. But people who are new to electric cars, they don't know what a 7 kilowatt charger is. They're just like, oh, I got to go to the charger, I guess. And then it tells you to wait there for 10 hours.
Yeah. No, by far the most annoying part of any EV that isn't a Tesla is the fact that there are chargers that go different speeds. If you're used to pumping gas, and imagine a pump, I mean, yes, there's some pumps that are a little bit slower than others, but imagine one pump is 5 minutes and one pump is 5 hours, and you go, well, what kind of system is this? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Right, and as we spoke about when we had the Mach-E charging problem, sometimes you don't have the right nozzle for your car.
Yes.
And people commented there are apps that help you plug in your car and it tells you which charging stations you can go to and which work for you. But again, it's like this stuff all needs to kind of become universal to have the adoption be really easy.
And Fenske, we're always kind of asking ourselves when we test cars, like, is this a journalist problem? Is this problem that we're having a problem because we only get this car for this much time and we don't pre-program all of our settings necessarily? Like when I complain about scrolly knobs, like if it was your car, would you just program the hotkeys and not have to deal with scrolling? Or is that really a me problem? And same thing with the charging. I constantly am like, is this a real problem finding the right charger or just a me problem because I don't really know how to filter?
So I asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
I asked Volkswagen, and they said they're going to have an update in about 6 months so that it'll go to the right chargers. But to me, they're selling the car this month.
You're selling the car now.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And like, is that guaranteed that it's going to happen in 6 months? Like today, as the car is sold, if you tell it to navigate far away, it tells you to go to a 7 kilowatt charger. And that's going to happen to someone.
That's not good.
And they're going to hate the car.
Well, they probably decided to make that change the moment you asked that question.
Yeah.
You know, the agent went, yes, we're going to do that. And behind their eyes was just screaming in terror, like, we need to start this now, and that's going to take 4 emails, and then we'll get it programmed.
Oh, my God. Me and Thaddeus once were driving I believe it was a Dodge Charger, but it might have been, it was another FCA product. I think it was a Charger. and we were using the built-in navigation system, and we found that the color line it would make for you to navigate, if you were colorblind, which I am, was exactly the same color as the background road. And we called them and I went, you got any colorblind folks working for you? Because you might want to run this by them. And they emailed me back like within 15 minutes. And they were like, we didn't know, we're going to work on it, blah, blah, blah. And there was like an update to the car like a week later.
Wow.
Yeah, they fixed it.
Wow.
No, they did. They fixed it. Yeah.
Good on them.
Good on them. Colorblind people.
Yeah, no, good on them.
Get a colorblind guy or girl on your staff, or they on your staff.
I mean, and that's the thing is like people do kind of come at you and say, oh, this is because you're a journalist and this is a pre-production car and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I've pulled up to a supercharger with my Tesla and watched an 80-year-old dude get out and do it. It's very simple. If I asked my 92-year-old grandma, hey, go charge this Volkswagen ID4, there is no shot. The car will not be charged. Yeah. And she could do it in a Tesla. And I don't think that's unreasonable to want people to be able to do something simply.
No,
I completely agree. It should be very, very easy, especially in America, because Americans don't read user manuals.
Or change.
That's when the whole Internet of Things, which I think when they're like, we're going to hook your, your pantry up to your wallet so it orders new food for you. I don't think we need that. What we do need is your car to be attached to your bank account or credit card, whatever. And that way, when you go plug into EV America or whatever, EVgo, it just does it instead of like we had to do with the Mach-E. We had to download an app because the swiping thing didn't work, so they're just pushing you to get the app. It's very cumbersome when it'd be great if you could just plug the car in, it charges the money, it gets it done. That's what it needs to be. Yeah,
Tesla has the right idea, except it's limited to Teslas. And now,
correct.
Do I expect a private company out of the goodness of their heart to build a charging network for everybody? No, I don't. But do I expect a government to say that if you're going to build these things everywhere, they have to work for cars that aren't yours? And you can charge people for that power, but you
has the iPhone switched to USB-C, or are they still all Lightning?
It's lightning on the phone, but the other end that you plug in can plug into any USB port.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think the EU just put out a statement they want all phones to be the same.
In other places. Forward. I think this is an America thing. I think in other places they've standardized this. Because
Tesla does have
Dubai. In Dubai they had both. No, in Dubai it was the same.
They had both.
When Thad came from Dubai, all phones were required to have were the same. Ports? Not both, but be the same. Oh, okay. They were required to be the same.
So in Europe, Tesla Model 3s actually have the different connector.
Oh, really?
Mother.
Yeah.
God damn it! Get me a fucking passport.
That's funny.
All right, let's blast through a couple more of these questions before we let you go. Are we?
There's kind of general car.
Just general stuff. Yeah. Matt, is the Countach your Grail car? And if not, what is? Pretty much. It's pretty much the Grail car until someone arrives with a McLaren F1 and somehow I can afford that, which never. So until then, yes. Jason, what's your Grail car?
Ooh, I wonder if you've ever actually driven one of these. Something I've always liked since being very little was the Noble M400.
Oh, they're cool. And they're really cool.
Have you ever driven one?
Yes, once. It's neat.
Did you?
They drive
did
like
you
they
enjoy
look,
it?
Actually.
Okay. It kind of looks kind of brutal, but I think
they're
it looks
sketchy.
pretty
They're
fun.
gnarly. I mean, they're really gnarly. They're very fast.
Yeah.
They're very loud. They're very light. The motor is really cool. It's a Yamaha designed engine. It makes a very, very neat sound. They're small.
There's
they're
a guy
very little.
in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, I like tiny little cars.
Yeah. That he every now and then he hits me up. He's like, I'm trailing her down to LA. Do you want to meet me and we'll drive it? So if you're out in Santa Barbara ever, Jason, for like a launch,
Zach, you should have to go next time this guy offers.
I want to.
These cars are very, very fast.
All the time.
Yeah. I've driven one once, and I remember being like, "Oh, this is rad!" Like it's really cool. Yeah.
That child racer style of car.
Yeah.
Like a kid drew it like that. I love that.
Like a Vector.
Yes, like 2014 Subaru STI hatch. Like it's a kid's drawing of what they think looks cool. And I love that.
That's very funny. I have a friend who's a collector car dealer, and he's got something called a Venturi 400. Have you ever heard of that thing?
I have not heard of a 400. No,
they call it the French F40, and it's sort of like a Noble. It looks like somewhere between a Noble and an F40 and maybe like a 348 and
pretty good looking.
The one, look at that, the one with the race livery on it. That's my friend's car. Down one, Zach. That thing. That's my friend's actual car. And so that's called a Venturi 400, and it made 500 horsepower in 1990. And it's just a weird, apparently crazy
like
fast French car.
It looks like a
Hot Wheels for adults.
355 meets a Spree.
Yeah. Pretty neat little car, right?
I mean, this.
Yeah. That's cool.
Looking.
It's kind of good looking.
Yeah, I think it's good looking.
Yeah, the French are nuts. The French are good.
That's really cool.
Yeah. We could have a go. It's Matt Ivanhoe. Shout out on follow him on Instagram, The Cultivated Collector on Instagram. He's a nut bar. He's got an Aston Db5, Aston Db5 that has a stroker engine in it. It has the original inline 6, which was I believe a 4.2 liter, stroked out to like 5.8 liters.
Wow.
This is a fucking thumper, this thing. It's great. This guy's got all kinds of weird shit. Shout out to The Cultivated Collector. Follow him on Instagram.
It's a great looking car.
Right?
Cool. That's cool.
Noble 400, not only could you get in one, Jason, you could probably afford to buy one.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. But I don't know. I really like this thing.
Yeah, it works. It works all the time.
Supercharged Miata, great combo.
Evan just says he wants to love your stuff. What's up with the frozen pizza box to take the pizza out of the oven? What's that about?
Oh, it's just so do you know what he's referencing, Matt, by any chance?
No.
Do you eat a lot of frozen pizzas by any chance?
I don't, but I love to hear how you do.
As a frozen pizza connoisseur, I eat it a decent amount. It's not good for you, but it tastes good. So anyways, you put the pizza in right on the rack, and then you take the box and you fold it flat, and you can use that to take the pizza out
like
of the oven.
Scooper. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That works for sure.
That's it. Yeah.
That works. You know why it's really good? It's got lots of COVID on it from the store.
Yeah.
No. You know how I got really fat in high school and college though? Stouffer's French bread pizza. Stouffer's French bread pepperoni pizza. Murdered. Murdered them.
Because it's like a pizza sandwich, right? It's like half of a pizza sandwich, and you put two together.
It's a sub with a pizza.
Yeah, it's a less healthy meatball sub somehow.
God, do I love a meatball sub though?
Yeah.
If you're from New York,
that got me into sandwiches.
Fucking love it. Tony M wants to know how to get the Delica smog legal and registered in California. Is that something Top Rank does when you buy the car? Top Rank offers a California. Top Rank is the importer. My boy Sean runs that place. Sean and Yaska, they're great. Anything JDM, you go to them. Here in Cypress, California. To get a JDM car registered in California, you have to get it carbed. And to do that, it's a process of going to a ref and paying a bunch. It's very expensive, and I think it's around $10,000, and it takes a long time. It takes months to do. It's a pain in the ass, but yes, Top Rank does arrange that for you. So if you wanted any JDM car in California, I don't know, with COVID, I think the list, the waiting time got even longer. I think it's quite a long time to get into the ref right now, but that's how you do it. Yeah. In fact, I have an episode of my show on Haggerty coming out. I have one episode about Skylines, talking about modifying Skylines, featuring Sean, so that may address some of this person's questions. I have another episode coming out about carb legal engine swaps. So we talk a lot about carb and the refs and stuff like that in the episode about carb legal engine swaps. Yeah. Austin wants to know, is it worth it to get a 90s project car, or is the chassis of the newer cars just that much better? Example, NA MX-5 or E36 BMW versus an FRS or BRZ V8 swap either way, he says. So he's saying, should I put a V8 into an NA Miata or an E36 BMW, or put it in an FRS and a BRZ? What say you, Fenske?
Here's what I say. Like, people underestimate the value of good tires. So get some good tires, and your 91 MX5 will outhandle a new BRZ on bad tires, or your new BRZ on good tires will outhandle a 91 MX5 or whatever year it is. So get some good tires and then put your V8 in and have some fun.
I'll add to that it is important to draw a distinction between the handling of the car and the feel of the steering. So an NA Miata, even on great tires, might outhandle that BRZ, but you might have to input quite a bit more steering to do the same. Maybe an NA Miata or any car from the 90s, E36 comes to mind actually. Let's call it a 90-degree bend.
Sucks in that car.
You might have to do 90 degrees or 180 degrees of steering versus the BRZ, maybe it's 45 or 90 degrees of steering, and you can have the same effect with less motion.
BRZ, I believe, is also EPS, and the first two cars are hydraulic steering. But the chassis of the BRZ is going to be far stiffer because of just the way manufacturing works. I mean, every car that comes out is usually stiffer than the predecessor, so it's going to be a much better chassis. But Mike Kojima, the guy that runs Moto IQ, I was asking him about the BRZ once. He helped build Dai Yoshihira's like drift cars and Pikes Peak cars, and I was like, "What do you like about? Do you like the BRZ?" He said, "I hate that car. I love Mike. He's so honest, and he's working on it, and he's helping the team. And he's like, as soon as you throw power at them, they just fall apart. You got to do all kinds of shit to it. So just do your homework. But the newer car is going to have the stiffer chassis for sure."
I once drove an E46 with an LS swap in it, and it was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome how good it was.
If I ever blow up my engine,
I mean, what? What's up?
Oh, I'm just very curious how your experience was with the V8 Flying Miata.
The V8 ND is so great.
That's like
so great.
Okay, that's awesome.
No, everything worked. The keyless start all worked. The gauges, the radio, everything worked. It didn't. The shifter is where it's supposed to be and feels like it's supposed. They didn't have to change anything to make it less drivable. You just have an enormous amount of power, and you've got such a wide torque band that it's easy for it not to get ahead of you. It's not like some crazy surgy turbo. I mean, you could shift the thing at $3,000 and still be fucking going. You know what I mean?
And the chassis handled it well because we had one of the proving grounds.
You had the gray one, right?
Yeah, with the gray one.
Fucking awesome.
And Lee, it was like top 3 lap times compared to 6-figure cars, and he was just drifting everything. He's like, this thing does exactly what you expect, and has
it's very, very good. Yeah, it's very good.
Love it.
Let's see. Amin Zagari says, how would you explain rear-wheel drive, mid-engine driving experience to someone who's only driven front-wheel drive cars? Jason, do you want to tackle that, or should I?
You have a lot of driving experience, and I'm assuming this person probably doesn't have nearly as much. So when I drove a GT3 for the first time with the engine in the back, and everyone had told me, hey, all the weight's in the back, it's going to feel different, I was like, holy smokes, this is the best thing I've ever driven. And I am not like a driver. Like I am not going to put down competitive lap times, but I felt very inspired. Part of that is modern cars are very good at correcting your mistakes. The other part is just that it can be tuned correctly one way or the other. And I think we put a little too much emphasis on where's the weight versus how well is the overall package set up.
I agree. I think that's definitely true. One of the biggest difference between going from front wheel drive to rear drive and then from going from front engine to mid or rear engine is both of those things take weight out of the steering. A front wheel drive car, the torque steer, it can never be totally eliminated, and you will feel that in the steering. As you're going through a corner on the throttle, you will feel the weight in your hands of the tires trying to steer and to get power down, right? Or steer and brake. You're going to feel that at the front. You go rear drive now. The engine's still in the front, but it's rear drive. You can feel the fact that your tires are now only steering. Okay, your tires aren't trying to do two things at once. They're just steering. They're not trying to also make the power down, which means that you can then use the power at the back to actually turn the car by lifting
Yes.
or adding. You can do that, but you can't do it as well in a front-wheel drive car. Now, let's move the weight of the engine from the front of the driver to behind. Now your steering gets even lighter, but it gets even sharper because it has less hanging over it, trying to keep that inertia going forward. And when you get the traction down coming out of the corner, that weight at the back will allow you to slide less on the exit of the corner. The steering should feel very precise, but also very light compared to your front drive car. I hope that.
Matt, that was fantastic.
All right. All right. You do the science, I'll do the driving.
You are very good at that. Yeah.
Thanks. Jeremy, I've never actually put that thought into words before. That actually did make more sense than I expected it to. Jeremy says, for about the same price, C5 Z06 or early C6 non-Z. The C6 is a better built car than the C5, but the C5, if you're going to track days and you care about speed and shit, I would go with the Z06.
You can get Z06s with Z51 packages for about the same as the Z06, but it's probably going to be a little bit more haggard. I looked this up when I was on Window Shoppers for Car and Driver. It's close, but I mean, because they both come with a lot of like diff coolers and all those things, so it's almost like the C6 Z51 is close to the C5 Z06, but it doesn't have the cachet. It's not as cool.
Not as cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chappie says, would an E90 BMW M3 V8 stick convertible be a fun summer car or bankruptcy material? Both.
Easy.
Yeah. What's great about the convertibles is the real enthusiasts don't, the hardcore guys don't want them. And that's what's great about 911s. Honestly, for the money, get a 911 convertible. The enthusiasts do not want 911 convertibles, and there's nothing wrong with them other than the fact that they're convertibles. And so you can get a fabulous car for probably a 25 or 30% discount versus the coupe. So if you want a summer convertible, 911. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No, sorry to interrupt. I was always on that fanboy of I base my decisions on the numbers, and convertibles are dumb. Why would you ever sacrifice rigidity and add weight and blah blah blah? And then I drove a C7 convertible, and I was like, hey, this is fantastic.
Convertibles are actually okay.
Convertibles are a lot of fun, and you hear everything and you can see everything. Now, some of the Porsches I don't like because some of the Porsches have really high backs.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really feel like you're in a convertible. It feels like it's just a Targa. But I am a huge fan. If it's a soft top, I love convertibles just because of the visibility aspect of it. Just opens everything up.
Yeah, and of the 4-seat convertibles, and I'll consider a 911 a 4-seat convertible, even though it's just barely. Of the 4-seat convertibles, the 911s, especially the 991s and up, have unbelievable chassis rigidity. They don't flex or shimmy, which is really impressive for a convertible. That's not like a carbon tub car. Last question, and then we're going to wrap it up. Pedram Dashti says, I have a modified 2009 G37S Coupe. I'm thinking of buying a BMW 135i. Is it a worthwhile upgrade in terms of experience? My goal is to have a lighter car and forced induction for power. I think it's probably an upgrade. 135s can be, with a couple little things here and there, can be very, very fast cars.
Definitely. Absolutely. It'll feel more agile for sure.
Yeah, I haven't driven a 135, but I drove a 230 and I really, really enjoyed it, and I didn't expect to.
The 4-cylinder 230, right?
Yeah.
Probably pretty light and agile, right? Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I drove a modified 135i that had knuckles on it, control arms, all this stuff, and it didn't feel like a 1M or something like that, but it was close. It was in that neighborhood. It was really, really fun. And the best 2012 G37S we had, I think, years and years ago, which I liked as a GT car, but it's not like a
limits
nimble
are pretty
machine.
low.
Yeah, I mean, you can set them up for drifting, but they feel big. They're good GT cars, but the 135.
The 135 I drove on Sorted was fan-fucking-tastic. It was the best driving in terms of dynamics of any of the cars at the whole show, except for the $200,000 shit. of any like the sort of home built kind of cars, by far the best. And our boy Alex Bernstein, the photographer, had a 135 that was pushing a very reliable 500 horsepower, and he had some nice shocks and light tires, and the thing was real fast.
Yeah, he was setting track records, I think, in that thing, or competing in time attack.
He was doing well in
his
time
class
attack,
and doing really, really well.
Yeah, it was cool. Fenske, what do you want to plug before we get out of here? Obviously, Engineering Explained on YouTube, but what else?
Let's plug some like hiking. Get outside, get away from screens, and just enjoy that moment.
Adopt a kitten.
Adopt a kitten. I just saw Cricket. Cricket's adorable.
Cricket is very adorable, isn't she? Cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket is getting. They got face-to-face to this morning, so we're on
amazing.
like day 4, and we're at the point where we're bringing kitten. Cricket is our new 3-month-old girl kitten, and we're at the point where we're they're sort of bumping heads a little bit, and there's a little bit of hissing, but I think maybe it might be the last night of Cricket having her own bedroom. I think probably by tomorrow will be good.
Cool.
Adopt a cat.
Get it,
adopt
Cricket.
a kitten.
Yeah,
shout out to
cats are
everybody
super
who
fun.
donated to Peter Zippy as well. After Conrad passed, a lot of people donated to the animal shelter that we support, and they sent us a card every time someone donated. They sent us like 50 cards.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was awesome. How's your cats?
So if anyone is in the Idaho area, which aren't that many people, but I got my cat Bucket at a place called Simply Cats in Boise, Idaho, and it's an amazing shelter, and they're awesome, and you should check them out if you're nearby.
Adopt, don't shop. Simply Cats in Boise. Shout out to them. 4.8 stars, 303 Google reviews. Oh, that's a great
place is awesome.
Great rooms to play with cats in.
Yeah,
Cageless,
they're really cool.
no-kill feline adoption center. All right, shout out to Simply Cats. Make a donation to them or make a donation to the Peter Zippy Fund in Hermosa Beach if you are in LA. Thanks, dude. I appreciate your time. I always enjoy having you on the show. Let's not 2 years this time, okay? Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds good to me. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Your show is great, and I love your thought process. You're a very level-headed individual, unlike myself.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you to say. And I think you're very good at describing driving. Like you're truly one of the best at describing driving.
Thank you. I will take that one. I will definitely take it. I appreciate it. It's the trade-off for not being able to do math. All right, that's our show, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the live end. And Fenske, you're the man. Talk to you soon. Good night.
Sounds
everybody.
good. Bye.